10 years ago today, the US and its allies went to war against Iraq. Remember shock and awe? Within weeks, coalition troops toppled Saddam Hussein's regime, but would never find the weapons of mass destruction they claimed were the reason for the invasion. A decade on, and the violence has killed more than 134,000 Iraqis. Nearly 5,000 American and international coalition troops also lost their lives. Hans Blix, then the UN's chief weapons inspector, was assigned to hunt down those weapons of mass destruction. Earlier I spoke to him about why he thinks the invasion was such a bad judgment call.
Well, the UN Charter allows states to go to use arms against others if they have committed an armed attack. And it was clear that Iraq was not committing an armed attack. They were prostrate after having lost the war in 1991. The other ground on which you can go to war is with the authorization of the Security Council. And the Council wouldn't give such an authorization. There wasn't a majority for it. And I think the major reason was that there was not a majority who were convinced that there were weapons of mass destruction. The conclusion is the same for me as for Kofi Annan, that the war was a violation of the UN Charter and illegal.
Looking back over the last 10 years, it was illegal from your perspective, and also it didn't achieve any of the goals, did it, apart from removing Saddam Hussein?
Well, that's right. Getting rid of Saddam Hussein was, of course, a victory. Good. He was a very bloody dictator. But all the other aspirations and aims that they set for themselves failed. First of all, they alleged that there were al-Qaeda operators in Iraq. There weren't any. They came later on attracted by US troops. They claimed that they would eradicate weapons of mass destruction, and they were not there. They claimed that they wanted to establish a model democracy for the Middle East, and they achieved instead anarchy for a long time, occupation that was expensive. They also hoped that they would get a new foothold for American land troops in the Middle East rather than Saudi Arabia, where they were not so welcome. Maybe they wanted this place not too far from Iran. Actually, they were forced to withdraw the US troops from Iraq.
Have you come to any conclusions about whether or not Iraqis are better off now than they would have been under Saddam Hussein if he was still alive?
Well, I think one should ask the Iraqis about that. I mean, if there hadn't been an invasion, Saddam would have stayed on. That's clear, and that is not anything ideal. Many autocrats like Castro or Gaddafi have stayed on for a long time. It's a sort of calm of the prison and the terror of the prison. But people will know how they can operate in that atmosphere. In anarchy, perhaps it's even worse. They are insecure all the time. And I hope fervently that the Iraqis are enormous skills and talent and lots of educated people, that they will come to a new balance of democracy.
10 years now, and people are making comparisons to Syria, for example, talk of going in there and getting rid of the leader. What lessons does your experience play into the Syrian situation?
It's easy to smash and to move out something, but it's very difficult to set up a new regime, a decent democracy anywhere. We've seen that in Somalia for many, many years. We see it in Iraq today. We see it in Afghanistan. And perhaps, therefore, the policy and the rule of non-intervention is the better one. They have adopted something called the R2P in the United Nations, the right to protect, which enables the UN to take a decision in the Security Council about intervention. And there was a decision of that kind in relation to Libya, and I think that was good. There is not going to be one like that in Syria. There in Syria you see interventions that are not authorized. The Saudi Arabian interventions and perhaps Qatari interventions. Had it not been for those interventions, I don't think we have seen a civil war of the brutality that we see today.
And do you think intervention is appropriate in Iran?
No, I don't think so. Again, I mean, the rule is that if Iran were to commit aggression, attack anybody, well, it would be justified to take self-defense. But I don't think there is any justification for that. Iran is not going to attack anybody, nor is the Security Council going to authorize an attack on Iran. I mean, if in Iraq we had a case of attacking weapons that did not exist, in Iran we are talking about attacking intentions that may not exist.